It can't be sustainable if we don't know how much water is in the aquifer to be taken in the first place. We can't know whether it's sustainable or not unless we see how big the aquifer is and how quickly it recharges. So the issue for us has been no one can answer that question really, because we don't know how the aquifer works.
Ka pai. Kia ora. The extraction of this volume of water must have to have a significant effect on the whenua. What are the key factors that concern you?
Our key worry is that there will be large quantities of water taken from the aquifer, larger than before. There are 2 other water bottling companies that take water from the aquifer as well. And then there are other people who also take water from the aquifer as well. So overall, we don't know how much water is coming out of the aquifer and how much water is going in to recharge it. What could happen and what we fear is that there are other connections to the aquifer, including a number of springs, wetlands. There's also the geothermal fields in the upper catchment. And if you suck water out of an aquifer and you've got other influential volumes of water going in that are contaminated, including geothermal fluid, which can have high concentrations of boron and carbon, cadmium and arsenic, for example, heavy metals, then the question is, will that rate of take and the volume of take bring those other waters into what is currently a pristine aquifer? No one knows the answer, and that worries us. And there's also concern that there's no rules for this activity. So what effect would that have on the whenua then? Potentially there could be subsidence. That's what we heard from our relations from Ngāti Tū Whare Toa today. Similarly, there could be saline intrusion from coastal waters that seep into the aquifer because it's depleted and the soils need to have sufficient water keeping them intact. And there could be effects on wetlands and so forth. But more than that, there can be effects on the types of activities that we enjoy currently, and our need for water to drive our enterprises or even our households and our homes and our families is what everybody needs. So the risk of contamination of this aquifer, which lots of people use, is a serious risk. And we've asked Council to carefully consider the extent of the aquifer and its dynamics so they make a good decision now that has sustainability into the future.
Kia ora.
It's hard to quantify that. Obviously, the applicants, Creswell New Zealand Limited, on behalf of NONGFU Springs China, are committed to a warm relationship with Haukainga, with the tangata whenua. A warm relationship is always a benefit to people. When it comes to families and employment, that too is a benefit to people. But one of the things that we've noticed is that in the applications, NONGFU, for example, have said they would have 2 shifts that are 12-hour shifts. Well, a 12-hour shift, a family whose family member is working 12 hours has very little time to look after their own health as well as their family is when they've only got 12 more hours in the day spent for themselves. So whether or not the number of shifts and the number of employees is at the right level from our perspective of a benefit to a family, that question we'll leave unanswered at the moment. What other kinds of benefits might there be? Well, there are no requirements for there to be benefits, and there's no known commitment from NONGFU yet as to the types of benefits. It could be that they entertain taking their stock off-road and putting it on rail. If that was the case, there could be a benefit to rationalise the rail link, and that could make the rail link and its expansion a little less expensive for the rest of the community. But apart from the opportunities that might come to families whose family member might be employed there. I don't see any particular benefits to Haukainga, tangata whenua or the community at large. Perhaps a slight economic growth for the Whakatane district, Kawerau district, but it's as yet unquantified.
Kia ora.
Absolutely, that's a great question. It's the question of the day, really. How can we know today whether or not what we might agree to today will not have an adverse effect on the environment in the future? And as soon as we see an adverse effect on the groundwater system, we've got a serious, long-lasting and irreversible adverse effect. If salt water got into that aquifer, how do you get it out? If there were a drop in pressure in that artesian spring, how do we tell who was the cause of that? It creates a huge set of issues for everyone, including the water bottler. And it creates a big issue politically in the local government sector as well.